Change is rarely the problem. It's the disruption that comes with it. The uncertainty, the loss of control, the exposure. Change threatens what's familiar, even when what's familiar is no longer working for us. So we resist. We resist ending a relationship that drains us. We resist leaving a job that stifles us. We resist confronting the habit that holds us back, and we resist becoming the person we know we could be. And most of the time we call that resistance something else. We call it timing. We call it being realistic. We call it waiting until things settle down. But beneath those explanations is something simpler. Fear. Change requires stepping into the unknown. Even positive change carries risk. Growth demands discomfort, and the mind is wired to protect, not to evolve. Stability feels safe, even if it's slowly shrinking us. But here's what you need to know. The cost of resisting change is almost always greater than the discomfort of change itself. When we resist what we need most, life doesn't pause, it narrows. Energy drains quietly. Frustration builds, resentment grows, not always toward others, but towards ourselves. There's a subtle tension that develops when we know we're avoiding something necessary. We feel it in the quiet moments, the thoughts we push away, the conversations we delay, the decisions we keep postponing. Resistance is exhausting. It takes more energy to maintain misalignment than it does to move towards growth. Holding on to what no longer fits requires constant justification. We convince ourselves things aren't that bad. We minimize the discomfort. We compare ourselves to others to feel better. But misalignment lingers. Over time, resisting change can shape identity. We begin to see ourselves as stuck, as someone who can't or won't. Confidence erodes not because we're incapable, but because we repeatedly ignore our own inner signals. What makes this even more complex is that we often resist what we need most. The person who needs rest resists slowing down. The person who needs honesty resists speaking up. The person who needs growth resists discomfort. It's not your fault, it's protection. But protection becomes a prison when it prevents progress. Change threatens the version of you that has survived up to this point. It asks you to release familiar coping mechanisms, to risk being seen differently, to admit that something needs to shift. That can feel like a loss, even when it's actually expansion. Yet every meaningful evolution in your life has required change. You've changed before. You've adapted before. The difference now is awareness. When you know something needs to shift, resistance becomes louder, because staying the same is no longer unconscious. The question isn't whether change is uncomfortable, because it is. The question is whether staying the same is costing you more. Growth rarely arrives at a convenient time. It rarely feels perfectly safe. But resisting it delays the life you're capable of living. The longer you wait, the heavier it feels. Change does not demand recklessness. It doesn't require dramatic upheaval overnight. Sometimes it begins with a conversation, a boundary, a decision to stop pretending, or a single honest step. Resistance is human, but so is growth. And often the very thing you're avoiding is the doorway to relief. You don't need to eliminate fear to move forward. You only need to decide that comfort is no longer enough. Trauma doesn't always arrive in obvious ways. It isn't always a single dramatic event that clearly marks a before and after. For many people, trauma is quieter. It accumulates over time. It settles into the nervous system through prolonged stress, emotional neglect, sudden loss, or experiences that forced you to survive before you were ready. And because of this, many people live with trauma without realizing it. They move through life feeling tense, guarded, disconnected, or easily overwhelmed, never linking those feelings to something that happened or something that never had the chance to heal. Overcoming trauma begins with awareness, not judgment, not blame, simply noticing. It starts by paying attention to how you respond to the present, the reactions that feel bigger than the moment, the patterns that repeat even when you want something different, the way your body tightens, your thoughts race, or your emotions shut down without warning. These are not your flaws, they're signals, echoes of experiences that once required protection. Trauma is not a personal failure, it's a survival response. At some point, your mind and body learned what they needed to do to get through something difficult. The problem isn't that these responses exist, it's that they may no longer serve you now. Healing does not mean erasing what happened, it means learning how to live without being controlled by it. The next step is reflection. This isn't about reliving the past, but about gently connecting the dots between then and now. Asking questions without accusation. Why does this situation feel so threatening? Why does my body react before my mind can catch up? Why do I respond this way when I'm under pressure? Reflection helps you separate who you are from what you experienced. You begin to see that your reactions make sense and that they can also change. One of the most important steps in overcoming trauma is learning to slow down your responses. Trauma pulls people into extremes, fight, flight, or shut down. Regaining yourself means creating space between what you feel and how you act. A pause, a breath, a moment to remind yourself that you are safe now, even if your body hasn't caught up yet. This process requires patience. Trauma was not formed overnight, and it will not dissolve all at once. There will be moments of progress and moments of setback. Both are part of healing. What matters is not perfection, but consistency in self-awareness and care. Another key step is self-compassion. Many people judge themselves harshly for how trauma shows up, for being too sensitive, too guarded, or too reactive. But healing doesn't respond to criticism, it responds to understanding. Treating yourself with kindness doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior. It means creating the conditions necessary for growth. Over time, as awareness deepens, you begin to regain choice. You notice patterns sooner. You recover faster. You respond instead of react. Slowly, the past loosens its grip on the present. Overcoming trauma is not about becoming who you were before, it's about becoming someone who understands themselves more fully. Someone who can hold both strength and softness. Someone who knows what they went through mattered and that it does not define their future. If you are on this path, know this: healing is possible, even when it feels slow. Awareness is progress, reflection is strength, and every small moment of self-trust is a step toward wholeness. There comes a point in every pursuit, whether it's personal, professional, physical, or emotional, where progress slows. The excitement fades, the steps that once felt clear begin to blend into routine. The effort that once felt energizing starts to feel heavy. And for many people, this is the moment doubt begins to take hold. When the results don't match the effort, it's natural to question everything. Some question their abilities. Some question whether the goal was realistic. Some question whether they're even meant for the thing they're chasing. And in that space of frustration and uncertainty, many people make the same mistake. They abandon the goal entirely. But goals rarely fail because they were impossible. More often they fail because the approach stayed the same, long after it stopped being effective. Growth isn't linear, and neither is progress. Strategies that work in the beginning don't always carry us through the middle. Habits that help us start often aren't enough to sustain momentum. The version of ourselves that begins a journey is not the same version needed to complete it, and that shift can be unsettling. When a path becomes difficult, it's easy to assume something's wrong. But difficulty is not always a sign to quit. Sometimes it's a sign to adapt. Think about any meaningful pursuit. Someone trying to get in shape may hit a plateau, even with consistent effort. Someone building a business may reach a point where their usual methods no longer produce results. Someone working on their mindset or emotional growth may feel stuck even after months of progress. These moments don't mean the goal is unworthy or unreachable. They simply mean the current approach has carried them as far as it can. It's in these moments that reevaluation becomes essential. Stepping back is not the same as stepping away. Reflecting is not the same as giving up. Reassessing doesn't signal weakness. It signals maturity. It shows a willingness to grow, to adjust, and to meet the goal from a new angle, rather than forcing the same method again and again. Doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results leads only to frustration. But shifting the approach, trying new strategies, learning new skills, or changing how we show up, opens doors we didn't realize were there. The emotional side of this process matters. It's discouraging to work hard and feel stuck. It's exhausting to pour effort into something without seeing the outcome you hoped for. These feelings are real and valid, but they are not the whole story. Because feeling lost does not mean you are lost. Feeling stuck doesn't mean you're failing. Feeling uncertain doesn't mean the goal is wrong. It simply means something needs to evolve. Not the dream itself, but how you're moving toward it. Every meaningful journey involves this kind of recalibration. Athletes change their training approach. Entrepreneurs refine their strategy. Artists, they shift their technique. Individuals striving for personal growth adjust their habits and routines. These changes are not signs of defeat, they are signs of wisdom. A new approach can reignite momentum. It can reveal solutions that weren't visible before. It can help you grow into the person who can achieve the goal you set out for. Someone more capable, more adaptable, and more resilient than when you began. If you're frustrated, exhausted, or questioning your path, pause before you walk away. Step back, breathe. Look at what's working and what isn't. Then adjust your direction, even slightly. A small shift in strategy can create an entirely different trajectory. Goals remain steady, approaches evolve. And the moment you allow yourself to adapt, you reclaim your ability to move forward. Sometimes the next breakthrough doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from trying differently. Have you ever told yourself, I'm setting a boundary, when really deep down you were just avoiding something? Well, you're not alone. We've all done it. And it matters because while boundaries protect us, avoidance can quietly rob us of growth. Let's start with boundaries. A boundary is not a wall you build to keep people out. It's a line you draw to protect what matters most, like your energy, your values, your well-being. Boundaries say, this is who I am, this is what I need, and this is what I will allow and what I won't. They're not about shutting the world off. They're about keeping yourself safe enough to show up fully in it. Think of boundaries like the guardrails on a highway. They don't stop you from driving, from moving forward, or from reaching your destination. They simply keep you from swerving into danger. Now, without them, the road becomes unsafe, chaotic, even destructive. Boundaries in life do the same. They keep us grounded, focused, and able to give our best where it matters most. Now let's talk about avoidance. Because avoidance wears a disguise. It can look like a boundary. It can sound like, I just don't deal with that person anymore, or I don't want to think about it. But avoidance doesn't protect you, it limits you. Avoidance is about fear. It's about running from discomfort instead of learning from it. Here's the difference. A boundary is created from strength. Avoidance is born from fear. Avoidance says, I don't want to feel this, so I'll just hide. Boundaries say, I'm strong enough to face this, but I choose to protect my peace as I do. Think about a tough conversation with a loved one. Avoidance says, I'll just ignore the problem. But that problem grows and it festers. It creates distance, bitterness, and pain. A boundary, on the other hand, says, I'm willing to talk about this, but I won't allow shouting, disrespect, or blame. If we can talk calmly, I'm here. Now that's not hiding, that's protecting while engaging. Avoidance keeps you stuck. Boundaries help you move forward. Boundaries do require courage. It takes strength to say no. It takes clarity to announce what matters most. Avoidance feels easier in the moment because it lets you step away from the discomfort. But the growth you want, the healing you crave, the relationships you long for, they don't live in avoidance. They live on the other side of courage. So how do we know the difference in our own lives? Are you protecting yourself so you can grow, or are you running away so you don't have to face the hard stuff? That's the question that can shift everything. Protecting yourself while engaging in life, that's a boundary. Running away to stay safe but stuck, that's avoidance. And it's okay if you've been avoiding. We all do it. There's no shame in being human, but there's power in recognizing it. Because once you see the difference, you get to choose differently. You get to set boundaries that honor who you are instead of slipping into avoidance that keeps you from who you could become. At the end of the day, your life deserves clarity. You deserve relationships that are built on respect, not resentment. You deserve to walk through this world with peace, not with fear. And that means learning the art of setting boundaries without falling into the trap of avoidance. Boundaries are not about shutting life out. They're about letting yourself in, fully, authentically, powerfully. Avoidance will keep you small, but boundaries will give you the strength to stand tall. You don't have to hide from life. After all, you were built to live it. We've all heard the question, what's your purpose in life? And when we hear the question, very often we become overwhelmed or paralyzed because we think the world is expecting this one grand gesture. Well, let me tell you, that purpose doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be overwhelming, and it doesn't have to last forever. What if purpose could be lighter? What if it's something that you do every single day? Not something that you're chasing for decades and not some grandiose gesture, but what I call purpose light. Purpose light is about finding meaning in the little things. It's about showing up every day for what's important to you and avoid the pressure of changing the world overnight. Think about it. Purpose can be as simple as encouraging someone who's having a rough day, creating something that brings you joy and sharing it with others, taking care of your body so you have more energy throughout the day, or being present with your kids instead of scrolling on your phone. These things may not sound big, but doing the little things consistently not only create a ripple effect in your world, but in the world of others. It's the smile you give, the help you offer, the moment you give kindness, all of it adds up. The problem is we've been sold the story that purpose has to be epic. Like you're building the next big business or saving millions of people. And if you're not doing either of those things, well, you're failing at life. And that's just not true. The people who inspire us the most, well, they live with small, consistent, purpose, like making coffee every morning for their partner, mentoring someone after school, writing thank you notes, planting gardens. You may not see these as epic, but the ripple effect is there and they make a difference in their lives. Here's the mindset shift. Most people think purpose is a destination, but I want you to think of it like a direction. What is one thing, if you were to ask yourself, that's going to make an impact not only in my life, but in somebody else's? It doesn't have to be perfect and you don't need a map, you just need the direction. Purpose light is powerful because it's flexible. It grows with you. See, one season you may have epic, big, grandiose goals, but in other seasons it might be just as simple as staying present for your loved ones. You're allowed to redefine your goals as you go. So here are the 3 simple steps to purpose light. First, spot the moments that matter. Look for the little things that bring you joy. Could be making art, helping a neighbor, or teaching someone something new. Secondly, make it part of your routine. Don't wait for a special occasion. Every day is an opportunity to impact not only your life, but somebody else's. And lastly, let go of the pressure. You don't need everyone's approval. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to show up regularly. Purpose light doesn't mean you lack ambition. In fact, what it means is you found purpose in the day-to-day, the moment-to-moment. And when you live that way, something magical happens. Those little moments add up to a life you can be proud of. So maybe today, your purpose isn't to save the world. Maybe it's simply making one person's world a little brighter. And that's enough, because you're enough. And if you keep doing that day after day, you'll look back and realize that small purpose wasn't so small after all. Confidence isn't something you build from scratch. It's not something you're born with or something only a few lucky people get to have. Confidence isn't this rare gem that you have to go searching for out in the world. Confidence is already inside of you. You don't need to build it, you need to remember it. Because at one point in your life, you were confident without even thinking about it. Remember when you were a kid? You didn't overthink everything. You didn't question if you were good enough to play, to speak up, to try. You danced when you wanted to dance. You asked questions without worrying if they were dumb. You tried things just because they looked fun. You weren't afraid of failing because you hadn't been taught to fear yet. That version of you is still there. Maybe quieter now, maybe buried under years of doubt, criticism, and failure. But it's there. And confidence isn't about becoming something new, it's about returning to who you were before the world told you who you should be. Somewhere along the line, life taught you to doubt yourself. Maybe someone made fun of you. Maybe you tried and failed. Maybe you compared yourself to someone else and decided you didn't measure up. That's where the disconnect happened. Not because you lost your confidence, but because you forgot it. So now the work is about remembering. It's about remembering your strength, remembering your resilience, remembering all the times you thought you wouldn't make it, but did. Confidence isn't just about standing tall when everything is going right. It's about remembering who you are even when everything feels uncertain. Confidence doesn't come from avoiding fear, it comes from walking through it. It comes from doing the thing even when your voice shakes or your knees tremble. The more you face fear, the more you remember that you're capable. Confidence grows when you keep promises to yourself. When you say, I'm going to do this, and then you follow through, even if it's messy. You don't have to move mountains, you just have to move forward. Confidence doesn't require perfection, it requires repetition. You don't need to wait for some magical day when you feel ready. That day rarely comes. What actually builds your confidence is acting in spite of fear. taking the step, having the conversation, raising your hand and owning your value. And when the voice of doubt creeps in, remind yourself, this fear doesn't mean I'm not ready, it means I'm growing. Here's a powerful practice. Start collecting evidence of your strength. Write it down. Every win, every risk you took, every time you got back up. Build a memory bank of proof that you are stronger than you think. And when doubt shows up, you go back to that list and remember, I've done hard things before. I can do this too. Confidence doesn't come from applause, it comes from alignment. When your actions match your values. When you show up for yourself. When you stop needing permission and start giving yourself a chance. So no, confidence isn't built like a house. It's not pieced together brick by brick from the outside. It's remembered, reclaimed, and reawakened because it was always in you. You just got distracted by the noise. So silence the noise. Remember who you are and show the world, not because you need approval, but because you finally remembered the truth